In this video, I'll go over the 4-step process that I use to set my zigzag goals and how to go about accomplishing them. So step number 1 is set your goal. You still need to set your goal so you know where you're going and what you're working towards. So let's go along with that same example from the previous video of having $100,000 a year after your 3rd year in your network marketing business. So there's a couple different ways you can go out there and set it. Some people just writing that on a business card or taping it to the back of their computer or carrying around their wallet. That's what they do. That's what motivates them. Other people, you may want to do a dream board. Rather than focusing on the $100,000 mark, focus on what that $100,000 will get you. And that's usually the lifestyle, a certain house, a certain car, certain vacations, a certain vacation home, whatever it is. And so dream boards are a very effective way to do that. And if you've never seen them, I recommend you Google it. You'll see lots of examples pop up. But basically what it is, you just take like a 2 by 3 foot poster board and you cut out pictures from magazines or you print images off a website. So you draw things on there on the things that you want, the things that you desire. So maybe you do a picture of your dream home. Maybe you put those top travel destinations you want. Maybe you put that BMW on there that you want to drive for your sports car. Whatever it is, you put it on there. So you probably know what will work with you as far as setting goals. Depending on your personality type, some people just focus on, hey, I want these dollars and cents. I want this $100,000 a year. That's what I want. And they can just write it down and put it on the wallpaper of their desktop. And that's all they need to see as their goal. Other people, you need to focus more on the emotional side and what it brings them. And that's where those dream boards come into play. So you know what motivates you and works for you. So I recommend that you set your goal for what makes you excited and motivates you. The next step is to create an activity-focused action plan. In the previous video, I talked about having an outcome plan versus an activity plan. So you'll really want to create that activity plan so it sets yourself up for success. And an easy way to remember this is an activity plan is something that you can cross off no matter what. You don't have to have a certain outcome. It falls completely on your shoulders and your schedule to get it done. So if you go back to the example of sponsoring 8 people a month, can you guarantee you sponsor 8 people a month every month? No, you can't. Can you focus on talking with 80 people every single month then? Yes, you can. So some other examples would be attend the weekly training call, do 20 minutes of personal development every day, finish this training course, attend this training seminar, go out and do this, talk with 20 people this week. And these are activities that you can focus on and do on a regular basis. Now, as you create this list, when you're doing a brand new business or you're brand new to something, I should say, don't worry about making it perfect. Don't worry about getting everything fine-tuned. All I want you to do is make a list and then move on to step 3, which is just start taking action. And the reason why I say don't worry too much about creating a perfect list or making sure you get all the activities is because you don't know what you don't know yet. It's one of those things where you have to start doing it to really learn the fine details of what it really takes to accomplish a certain outcome or a certain result. Or once you start building the business, you start getting a better feel, you start getting those experiences on how you can accomplish something or do something. So just go out there and start taking action. And then the 4th step is adjust as you go. And this follows up to my point I just made, which is you don't know what you don't know yet. And so as you start learning more, as you start experiencing things, as you start realizing, hey, this doesn't work, or actually I need to be focusing on this because this actually gives me better results, or I never thought of this aspect of building the business. As you start learning that, you start adjusting your weekly and monthly activity levels. And of course, depending outside your knowledge and experience, depending on what you have going on as far as the size of your team, the amount of customers you have, your activity sheet will change as well. if you have no team members in your organization, you're not going to spend a lot of time on training people because you have no one to train. So you'll spend the majority of your time on getting new people in your team. And then if you have no one to talk with, well, then you'll need to work on your communication skills to start building some relationships, or start learning some marketing skills to work on marketing campaigns to go out there and start generating leads and start generating people through your website or through your online advertising. And so these steps, I will go into more in depth in some later videos to give you some more examples on that. But those are the 4 major steps that you need to follow to go out there and start setting your zigzag goals. Now, I want to move on to the second part of this video, and that's what you do when you get stuck or when you get off track. Notice I didn't say if you get stuck or if you get off track. You will get stuck, you will get off track, I promise you. It happens to me. It happens to me all the time. It happens to everyone I know out there, and it's just part of life. And this kind of goes back to that first problem in the previous video of, hey, life happens, stuff happens, you have to deal with it. And so stuff will happen, and sometimes you'll get stuck as you start working towards your goal. And when you do, here's what I do to get myself out of maybe the funk I'm in and to get myself and my business back on track. The very first thing I do is I look at what I have accomplished. So after you've done something, take a step back and look at where you've come. It's kind of like if you imagine yourself walking down a trail or actually walking up the side of a mountain for a hiking experience. Halfway up there, you probably start getting really tired. Your legs are hurting, you're out of breath, the soles of your feet are getting sore, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is just, it's painful, it hurts. I don't know if I can make it all the way up there. It's still so high up there. But then if you turn around and look down the trail, you can see how many steps you've taken. You can see how far above the tree line you are. You can see how many thousands of feet you've climbed up so far. So I think as humans, we always get so focused on that next task or that next goal ahead. When you get in a funk or you get the wind knocked out of you, hey, you know what? Take a second, take a minute, and look back at what you've accomplished. And I promise you, whenever I do this, it motivates me. I say, you know what? I've accomplished a lot. I've done a lot of things out here. And when my downline does it, or sometimes I do for my downline and say, hey, look, I understand you're frustrated right now, but let's take a second and look at where you are now to where you were 6 weeks ago. Put that in perspective. See how much you've grown. See how much you've learned. And they're like, oh yeah, you're right. I didn't even look at it like that. You're right. I have learned a lot. So do this for yourself, and also make sure you do this for people you're working with. The next step you do is you put it in perspective. And I learned this my first year in the business, the second year in the business. I had quite a few friends who were in the military, and we were all in their early 20s. So a lot of my friends were in the military, and at that time, the Afghanistan and Iraq war were going on, and they were over there. And what would happen is I would be focused on my business, and I want to get something done that week I wanted to, or I'd have a prospect on the phone just say something rude to me that would just take the wind out of me. And I'd put things in perspective, say, you know what? At least I'm not overseas getting shot at by real live bullets. I'm sitting here in my home office, in my comfortable chair, drinking my filtered water with the AC running. Life actually isn't that bad. That's what I always did to put it in perspective, and I still do. And I'm sure there's something that you can do to put it in perspective as well. So I want to make sure you do that, because if you're watching this video and you're out there building your business, I know you might not be where you want to in life, but compared to a lot of people out there in the rest of the world, you probably have a pretty easy life where you have access to the internet. You have the time and the money to do things like this, and you have the opportunity to pursue businesses like this. So if you put it in perspective, you're better off than the vast majority of people out there. So always put things in perspective. The next step, and this is where we actually start really getting back on track, figure out what happened and adjust. If you set out the goal to talk with 80 people that month and you're only able to talk to 10 people, why did that happen? And in that case, it usually comes down to two things. You either ran out of people to talk with, Well, if that was the case, you have to figure out how to get more people to talk with, and that's where you will probably start learning how to do some online marketing. Or maybe you had lots of people to talk with, but you were afraid to talk with them. Well, that's where going through some communication training or communication courses and maybe a little bit of personal development can help you get back on track. So whatever happened there, you have to stop and look at your activity list or look at your goals and say, okay, what took me off track here? What happened? And you identify and you say, okay, what can I do to not have it happen again or to do that, do better next month or next week? And guess what? It might not be perfect the next month, but you'll adjust and then you're one step closer to figuring out what you need to do to have that accomplished. And then step number 4 is refocus on your goals. So look at your dream board or look at the goal you've written down and then get back to zigzagging forward. One of my team members, George Fox, has this great analogy that I really love when he uses. And he said he'd be sitting at home and his wife does a lot of consulting work around the area, and they live in Tampa Bay, Florida, which there's different waterways, there's different bridges. It gets a little bit confusing of where to go. And she'd be out meeting a client or coming home, and he would say, well, she would call him and say, well, hey, George, I can't figure out where I'm going. I'm lost. And he'd say, well, what street are you on? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, drive to the next intersection and tell me what street you're at. Oh, okay, I'm at this street. And can you see the other road sign? No, I just see where I'm on this road. Well, keep driving forward until you see a cross street. And oh, okay, well, I see I'm at this road and this road. Now he knows where she is, and now he knows what direction she's moving in. So he could look at the maps and say, okay, you know what? You're close, but you need to turn around and go this way. And the point of that story is if you sit still and do nothing, you're not moving forward and you can't figure things out. The only way you get to your goal or you get to your destination is to move forward. Will it always be a direct route there? No, it won't. But you're either moving forward or you're stagnant, and if you're stagnant, in my mind, that's moving backwards and moving away from your goal. There's no in between, either moving forward or moving backwards. Now let me put all this in perspective for you, because setting and accomplishing goals isn't something you just do in your business. You do it in all areas of your life, whether it's a personal conquest you have or another business or something in your job or career related. We're always setting goals. And so I think once you learn this method and you apply it to your business and the other areas of your life, you'll reap some huge benefits. I know I did once I figured this out and once I started applying it to all areas of my life. I not only had more success in my business, but I had more success in my personal interest, and then other businesses I started and other investing opportunities I started learning how to do, I always succeeded in my goal. Did it always happen the way I thought it would? Of course not. Did it always happen in my time frame I had? No, it did not. But guess what? I always accomplished my goal. And I guess this really stood out to me. I just turned 30 years old recently, and it stood out to me as I started catching up with friends from college and high school, and we would catch up on what we were doing, and people would say, well, geez, Chris, how did you accomplish so much? How did you get so much stuff done? And as I started putting in perspective what I've accomplished, I realized I've accomplished a lot. And it's because I knew this, and it gave me a clear roadmap on what to do, but it also gave me the confidence to know that when I set out doing something, I would know how to get there and go about doing it. So I highly recommend you learn this, and I really hope it helps you like it helped me.